Hello, everyone. We're back after a short break because, quite frankly, we're fed up of saying the same thing every week, and the Reds have been just a bit shit, to be honest. But as the season ends now, there's a lot more to discuss. We're going to talk about Arne Slot's future for one, and then we're also going to talk about the summer, the comings and the goings. And despite the significant outlay last summer, it does feel like it needs to be another big one. So Tom and Chris here again. We'll start with Arne Slot. So he's got 1 year on his contract. It looks like he's staying. I'm just going to chuck it out there straight away that I'm really concerned with how the club is running these contract situations, not just from a player's perspective, because there's the Konate situation that's still unresolved, but also from a transfers perspective, regardless of whether or not you'd keep Slot, going into a year with 1 year on your contract, I just think if you're a player thinking about Liverpool, the first question you're going to be asking is who's the manager next year? And to me, it feels like the most likely option of everything is that Arnie will be sacked before Christmas. Thoughts?
Yeah, mate. It feels like the end of the Rodgers era, doesn't it? In a strangely similar way. In so much as obviously we get slapped by Stoke towards the end of Rodgers' tenure, and the majority of the fan base are like, right, it's time for him to go. They don't do it, and he ends up sacked by October the following season. Sort of. I know we get to the Europa League final that season, and obviously Jurgen Klopp is available, and the rest is history in that regard. But it kind of writes off that season. Not write it off, because as I say, we get to the Europa League final, and it was very fun when Slot came in. But from the start, as you say, instability.
I think though the big difference here is that we're starting at a much higher ceiling. So when Brendan took over, we were in dire straits. You know, the Roy Hodgson era was appalling. Brendan had his one season of magic, and it was very fun for a long time. But we're still to this day currently champions. It just feels like the situation is different, but almost worse because of the instability now. Feels like we could set ourselves back 5 years if this doesn't go right. And I think I'm not saying we should back Slot because I think we're both now in favour that Slot should go. But it does feel weird not backing the manager if we're not going to sack him.
Do you not think that all of these public declarations that he's going to stay from journalists and even from him today, he said himself,
he's come out saying
he said, I have every reason to believe I'm the Liverpool manager next season. It feels almost every day that one of the local patch journos says Liverpool are going to stick with him, and we've even got some national journos wading in on that as well. Do you not feel like it's posturing?
I mean, I can only hope. Maybe, but the fear is, I guess, the managers that you'd want are kind of available now. So we're playing a dangerous game. Like, let's say Alonso signs for Chelsea. That rules out, I would assume, the number one pick of every fan.
Yeah.
Then you're scrapping around the Glasners, the Areolas, who else is actually available at the moment? I suppose if Pep Guardiola goes, that still feels very possible, depending on what happens in the season. That could create a ripple effect. But
I thought you were throwing him into the ring there for a second.
No. Would you have him?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay. It wouldn't sit that well with me, but you can't really say no, can you? But I feel like if that is our plan to do a bit of posturing and sort of play the waiting game and make our move, why are we risking not getting Alonso when he's available now? Just get him. We've got nothing really to play for. We're out of the Champions League. We're pretty much nailed on to get Champions League qualification. It'd have to be monumentally wrong. Just do it.
Yeah. I mean, you know me, I've been a long-term fan of transfer silly season. Have you seen that people have started tracking flights? And there was a Twitter rumor today. Well, not a rumor, but when FSG met Klopp, they met him in their New York office. There's been flight tracking action going on, and FSG have been flying to New York. There's been debates about whether it's Alonso. I maybe it's hopeful or wishful thinking, but I think I do see these public votes of support as a bit of media games, and we're familiar with it. It happened all the way through various different transfers. Alisson right up to the death, Thiago right up to the death, Isak all the way through, basically.
I'm not convinced after that. I think we're going to be going into next season with Slot, and I think the situation's so toxic now. He basically has to win at least 5 on a bounce, I think, depending on obviously who we get in the fixtures. But if we lose or draw the first couple of games, it's done straight away. There's no way you can win the fans back. It's that bad, and I think that I even think pre-season could determine, which is ridiculous because it doesn't mean anything. But the vibes that we have in pre-season, if we're shit in pre-season and boring and it just looks more of the same, we'll start the season in a bad place. So,
It's so
he's got such a hard job now to turn it around, which just makes me think, like, why on earth are we keeping him?
Yeah. I mean, it's really strange listening to you say that there. Obviously, we won the first 5 games of this season. And I saw a video the other day. I didn't get to the game, but some of the football that we played in Bilbao in the pre-season friendly, it was fantastic. It was like some of Slot's first half of first season Slot football. Would you... I'll flip that on its head and ask you a question then. Let's say we do stick with Slot. I'll go on record and say I don't think we will. But let's say we do. And the football's scintillating in pre-season on the basis of a couple of signings. We'll come to signings, no doubt, in this episode. But the football's scintillating. Do you think... I mean, I'll ask you individually before coming to the fan base. Like, would that do anything for you?
I think it's more the other way. So I think there is an expectation that we will be scintillating in pre-season. I think it's a lose-lose situation for him. That's my point. I think everyone will expect us that it has to be a lot better, and anything apart from scintillating will be a massive negative.
Do you think, if you put yourself in Slot's shoes, do you think he'd want to stay?
It's a tricky one because he could probably walk now. I really like Arne Slot as a guy. He's a lovely guy, speaks well. He's obviously won the league for us. Like, in my eyes, whatever happens, he is a legend of the club. And I know a lot of people, you're laughing. So, but I honestly think he is. He's won us the league, so he's a legend of the club. He's done what barely any other managers have done before in a very short time period. So I think there's an opportunity for him to walk away with his head held high and just say, season 1, amazing. I managed to get an extra 10, 15% out of an aging squad that no one thought would win the title. Season 2, because of all sorts of circumstances, going all the way back to the Jota scenario, just didn't go to plan, and I didn't have the answers, and it was right to just walk away and have a clean break. I think he could leave with his head held really high there, assuming we do get Champions League. And it doesn't go monumentally wrong in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
Whether or not he'd want to do that, I don't know, because I do think he does have confidence in himself.
Yeah, which I like in a manager. I like in any professional, in any walk of life, really. But I just think if I was him, I'd get off. And as you say, he's won the league. He's qualified for the Champions League. If you look at his relatively short managerial career, he's got 2 league wins. He's nearly had another one with Alkmaar in the COVID season. He won a cup in Holland, and he's qualified for the Champions League. Over a fairly brief managerial career, that's quite a good return. And I think
very good.
I think he's in danger of jeopardising that if it sours towards the end of, or not even towards the end, if it sours at the very beginning of next season, like the majority of us expect it to if he stays. I think he'd do more harm than good.
He's putting so much pressure on himself, though, with all of his comments about how much better it's going to be next season. Like, is it going to be that much radically different? Like, how can it be? It's the same manager, more or less the same players.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like so much needs to change.
Agreed, mate. Yeah. And we're back to that age-old discussion that you and I have had so many times about who's, not pulling the strings, but who's making the final call on dealings. Like we always say, he was brought in as the coach, right? And I think if you're going to have any sympathy with Slot about mitigation, obviously we've covered the more mainstream mitigating factors, but I do think that the sort of, whether it's true or not, who knows, the sort of, let's not disrupt Rio's pathway to the first team by signing him a left winger to replace Diaz. I think that's a big one. And I don't know, he's got a little bit more narky in the press recently, Slot, hasn't he? And I wonder whether some of the the comments, like veiled, underhanded comments about that sort of stuff, about a squad being built for him. Who knows? Who knows? Because obviously he wanted a footballing central midfielder as well when he first came in. Obviously he's converted Gravenberch, but you wonder whether he feels as though he was dealt, a limited hand.
And
Which
I
sounds
think
mad,
that's
given how much
entirely
we
fair.
spent. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think in hindsight, you look back at that spree of spending, and I'd struggle to find anyone who would say that it's been a big success,
It also doesn't
apart from
seem to
you,
matter.
maybe.
No, I just
Given your love for your boy Florian and Kirkes, who, to be fair, Kirkes has been a shining star, but the two main boys of Isak and Wirtz for me just haven't worked out. And it's not that they're not good enough players. I think it's, well, obviously the Isak injury was unfortunate, but I think it's a system thing, and I do feel sympathy for Slot around that area, but I'd still believe that he should be getting way more out of this current crop of players.
Yeah. I mean, bottom line for me, the overarching view of the Slot era, yes, we won the league, but he's managed to sap the enjoyment out of it. And I do wonder whether that's for the players as well as for the fans. It's actually staggering when you go into Anfield, leave the ground, the volume of people that are just frustrated with the style of play as well as the results. Because as you referenced before we hit record, we had a couple, like 3 wins on the bounce in the league, didn't we? And it's kind of, well, hopefully, obviously we've got 2 left, but potentially
They're just
pivotal
dire
3
though, aren't they?
wins.
Even like saying 3 wins on the bounce, you'd think is a really positive thing, but all 3 of those performances were utterly dull. I thought Fulham could have easily had a couple against us.
That's what I mean, mate. Yeah.
Obviously, the Everton win, is a late Virgil goal. Palace was a bit all over the show, but I don't think we've been convincing in any of those wins. And if you take out those 3 and the 5 at the start of the season, 8 crucial points there, we'd be fucked without those little bits of form.
Yeah, we would. And I agree with you. They're not really form, they're just runs of wins.
Yeah, it's
we
not.
were,
Yeah, that's it. It's not
yeah.
form at all.
First half against Fulham, we were all right. But that's what I was going to lead on to say. Even after at least the home games in those wins, didn't go to the Everton game, but the fans are walking out just being like, yeah, 3 points, but it ain't fun.
Mm. Do
The
you attribute any of that though to just complete mental fatigue from a variety of factors? But I would possibly argue the Jota one being the biggest one.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
don't believe that Slot's going out there and telling him to be dull and boring and just like passive. He can't be. That's everything we know about him and why we signed him as a manager is the complete opposite to that.
Yeah, and again, I come back to that point about the pre-season game against Bilbao. That's probably his blueprint of how he wants us to play. Quick transitions, more controlled than Klopp's teams, but we haven't had that control, and we haven't also been watching quick transitions. And I the personnel are a factor there for sure, because none of his available wingers run in behind really. And I include Rio in that, and this season's iteration of Salah, but I just I know it's semantics, but the whole point about coach versus manager, I think rings quite true in that mental fatigue question that you ask, because really, while yes, I get that their role is to coach the players, coach the tactics, and coach the system, but the management role is every bit as important. And I whilst it looks like tactically we seem inept, I think it's actually the managerial side of things that he's struggling with the most. Like there's clearly disharmony in there, clearly.
Do you think that will be easier when Salah, Robbo, potentially Ali, some of these big figures in the dressing room go?
I think
because I like, before you answer that, I think the context of why I've asked that is that I do think that someone like Mo Salah is very hard to manage when he's not playing well, because he obviously thinks he's absolutely unbelievable still. And the bottom line is he hasn't been very good this year. So just having someone like that in the dressing room, I know Mo does loads of stuff with like the young players and stuff like that, but it must be difficult when you're not a Jurgen Klopp type character who just doesn't take any shit.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to not pick those elite players, as Slot's found out. I mean, it's maybe even put Slot to the sword that that could have been the beginning of this decline in terms of the sort of emotions of the squad. Yeah, I mean, I do think the Salah scenario is weighing heavy on Slot. He even came back, didn't he, about Salah's thing around the standards in that interview he did with Gerrard. Salah
Yeah.
saying, like, there needs to be a standard setter. It felt like, I say, he's been a bit snarky. Slot came out and was like, yeah, but it's not just about the gym, it's about the pitch as well. I've not directly quoted him there, but it felt like a bit of a dig back at Mo. You never really know what goes on behind closed doors, but I think we'll definitely miss their leadership. As we're seeing unfold at Real Madrid at the moment, sometimes the big players lead, so to speak, in their own way, and it causes problems. But I don't know, mate. I am concerned around the lack of leaders, because you look at our squad without those guys. Obviously, Virgil. But then beyond Virgil, who are our experienced leadership figures? Is Gakpo, Szoboszlai? It's underwhelming. It's particularly if Alisson goes.
Yeah. Well, I think that's quite a nice segue onto the outgoings. Well, before we start on that, just in terms of signings, do you think the managerial transfer is the biggest transfer we could make?
Without doubt.
Do you?
Yeah,
So
without doubt.
regardless of any player?
Yeah. Without doubt.
Okay, so onto the outgoings then. So obviously Mo and Robbo we know are going. There's a whole host of players in that sort of middle bracket who are linked with other clubs or have 1 year left on their contract. So Gomez has come out saying he doesn't know what his future is going to be. Anything could happen. Alisson's linked heavily with Juventus. Jones is constantly linked with various other people. McAllister's been touted at leaving. So let's stick with the ones that we know who might go. So Gomez and Alisson, I guess are the two. I'm going to chuck it out there now that I think we're mad to sell Alisson, even though he's got injury problems, just from that leadership point of view, to let someone who's still a world-class goalkeeper when he's on the pitch go, especially when we don't have someone in my head like uprooting him. It's very different if we had a full number one that had already taken his place and Alisson had lost his number one spot, but he is definitely our number one keeper still. I just think that's a terrible, terrible decision if we let him go.
Yeah, I don't disagree. In the same way, back to your point around the contracts being an issue, in the way that clubs sort of get reputations as clubs that will help young players, like we have had over years, we're a sensible move for young players because you'll get a first team pathway. The Alisson ones made me wonder, along with the Salah thing, around whether the club place some merit on sort of letting players go graciously when they feel their time's up, rather than making them see out the contract and not want to be there. Does it feel like gestures of good service for Alisson and Salah?
So you think this is Alisson pushing to go?
It feels like that. I can't see a world in which the club are saying we need to sell him, other than the fact that he's not fit, which is mad to say for a keeper. But he misses as many games as outfield players, doesn't he? Yeah. I mean, he's not the Alisson of his peak by any stretch, and some of the statistics suggest that Mamardashvili's performing better than him between the sticks statistically. But I mean, I don't want to sell Alisson, but they'll have their reasons.
Big wages.
Yeah, and we know Edwards doesn't like new contracts for players over 30. I don't know if that rule applies to keepers for him, but Alisson's availability is a challenge, and he is declining. I think
surely if he goes, we have to sign a keeper.
Yeah, James Trafford's the name that keeps coming up. I know, same. Yeah, I'm not asked about that. But then what's the keeper market saying? It's I'm not well on top of hot young keepers at the moment.
Well, are you of the opinion then there's not going to be Mamardashvili?
No, I think they'll go with Mamardashvili as their first choice, but you'd have to be looking at someone to be a solid second choice / push him for maybe first choice. I saw Emi Martinez linked today. Fuck that.
I'd fucking hate that, honestly.
Same. Fuck that.
Kelleher, we haven't got a clause to get him back, have we?
Don't
Come
know.
back, Queeve.
Yeah, it's a shame for him if that happens, isn't it? Because he was such a great understudy. I wasn't even his biggest fan, but he was such a great and reliable understudy. Had he clung on for a couple more seasons, he could have been
He's had a
first
great
choice.
year this year as well.
He has. He has. We all looked at it like they might get relegated, and that he was going to be potentially a championship manager a championship player, this time next season. But it might be the Champions League. But yeah, I'm sure. I don't know what your agenda was, whether we're going to go through all of those players, but I think in terms of those outgoings, the names you've reeled off, I've got the same sorts of feelings as I did about our signings the previous summer. I.e., I like them all in isolation, but collectively, I'm not sure it works. Like if you ask me, other than Curtis Jones, from those that you've mentioned, I can see a world in which we let all of them go as individuals. But then if you let go that many players, are we hugely destabilising the squad yet again?
Yep. But it feels like that's going to happen, whatever happens. Because if Mo, Robbo and Ali go, even if we don't sell anyone else, all of that wage bill off the wages needs to be reinvested back in, as well as then everything else that we've got to do. So I think I would be disappointed to see Gomez go.
Same.
Just because he's versatile, and I know he's got injury problems, but he just seems like a really good person to have around the squad for another season at least. I'd be really disappointed if Curtis Jones goes. I like Curtis, versatile as well, and I just think you need your local lad. I wouldn't be against Maka going, I have to say. I think it's time. If we could get any sort of decent fee for him, I think it's time to cash in. Of all of our midfielders, he would be the one that I'd be happy to lose.
Same, mate. Same. His drop-off's been monumental.
Yeah, he's had an awful season.
Yeah. Had we had a team come in for him this time last season, you'd be looking at a big transfer fee.
Yeah.
I reckon we'd be lucky to get 35 for
it. Yeah. World Cup, they say. Valuations will be all over the place.
But yeah, no, I agree with you on that. Curtis, I would 100% keep. McAllister, I'd be happy to move on so long as we find a replacement, because we're running into a numbers issue.
Yeah. Anyone else you'd chuck on that list?
Gakpo.
I knew you were going to say that. I had it in the back of my head that I'd ask you, and I guarantee you say Gakpo. So I would keep Gakpo as a squad option. I know he's had a bad season, but he's a reasonable squad player, I think.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, he's the only one that would generate a decent figure, I think.
The problem is if you lose Gakpo though, we're going to end up with basically a complete new front three again, because you can't rely on Isak. Ekitike's out for anywhere up to a year, so we'll have to sign a striker whatever happens. You've got to replace Mo Salah, so you're looking at getting a new right wing, a new striker, and if Gakpo goes, a new left wing as well.
Yeah,
I'd argue that you possibly need all three of them anyway, even if you keep Gakpo.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not Gakpo's biggest fan, as you know, but I think I agree with you in terms of stability and squad use. And as I say, he is a leader. I think Rio and Trey were asked about it in one of those Adidas interviews they did, and he referenced Gakpo being a leader. So, yeah, but there's so much to do, isn't there? So much to do.
Well, let's talk about the comings then. So obviously, if Ali goes, we're going to have to sign a keeper, whether that's a first team keeper or a backup keeper. Defensive reinforcements: Jeremy Jacquet coming back in. He only hopefully fit. I don't know what the situation is with Connor Bradley, but I still would like another defender.
Yeah.
And obviously the Konate situation, we don't know if he's signing or not. What's your view on the defence?
Yeah, mate, it all hinges on who's going. And back to your point about the contracts being problematic, the Konate one's lingered. And they might have wrapped it up behind the scenes. He kind of pointed to that the other day in an interview. But even if they all stay, let's say Gomez and Konate stay, I still think we need a right back.
Yeah,
because you can't
class Frimpong as a right back.
Nah, Frimpong's a squad player for me. I like him in the squad. because he offers something different. But I'm not having him starting right back every week for us, and I'm not having him start right wing for us either every week. Right wing back, different story if Alonso comes in, but we'll park that one. If Gomez and Konate were to stay, I still think we need a right back. And who you go and get, I don't know.
Quite like the sound of Dumfries.
Do you?
I know he's not the age profile that we'd go for, but just as a solid option who's very experienced, and I think he's a decent player, to be fair. I've always been quite impressed watching him.
Yeah, he's one of those that performs well at the big tournaments when everyone's watching.
He loves an international, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, we could.
I wouldn't be against someone who's more experienced like that, to be honest.
There were January rumours, and I was on the fence about them at the time. But I think looking back, he probably, he would have played every game. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, what? So would you be going for experience then? Because we've been linked to that kid from Atalanta, that Palestra lad, who I've never seen him play. I'll be honest, but he's meant to be.
Me neither. But so I do think we are going back to what you said. Referencing Mo's thing about standards. I would like us to think outside the box a little bit and not go for our usual profile of player. And I think we're missing I don't want to say a James Milner type signing because there's not many Milners out there, but I think we need someone who's been there and done it and a bit more experience. We're full of people who are inexperienced. Even some of our league winners, like Gravenberch, relatively inexperienced, to be fair. He's probably never been through a season like this in his life.
No.
Where obviously he's had the years at Bayern where he wasn't playing very often, but Bayern was still winning trophies. It wasn't like this sort of chaos, I guess, that he's gone through. Yeah, I just think we need to think a little bit outside of the box, and that's why we'll get on to the striker options. But I wouldn't be against Jared Bowen as well.
Yeah.
Not the right age profile, and certainly neither of those two options would be long term futures or long term options for us. But for a season, maybe 2 seasons, someone like Bowen and Dumfries could come in and just settle us down, and we're unsettled.
Yeah, I think if you there'd be circumstantial signings for me. Like if you were to ask me in normal circumstances where there's not predicted to be many outgoings and we didn't have these injury issues, etc., I wouldn't be up for either of them. But given, I can see the argument for it, given the instability, particularly Bowen if they go down. As long as
it's the areas that they play in, I think, because even if you spend 100 million on a Salah replacement, let's say we get, well, I know you love Barcola, so let's say we get Barcola.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee that he's going to adapt to the Prem straight away. So someone like Bowen, who's been there and done it and has Prem experience, is just a nice option to have. He's not going to cost loads of money. Different profile in terms of age, but we need it. And again, on the right back situation, Dumfries obviously doesn't have Premier League experience, but there's no guarantee that Bradley's going to come back in any sort of physical condition. Neither of us are having Frimpong at right back. Gomez is constantly injured. I just think it would be the right type of signing to make.
Yeah, and back to your Milner point, I agree there aren't many market opportunities like James Milner, but there's a couple of. Did you watch? Obviously, you watched the Bayern Munich game. Do you remember we used to get linked to Konrad Laimer? Even in the Jorg Smadka season.
Yeah. How old is he now?
He's older, isn't he? I'm not sure. He'd be 30, 31.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Let's look him up. But anyway, I remember being linked to him and being underwhelmed. But he was great. In sort of he's 28.
He's 28, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, comrade. But yeah, that mould of player, adaptable, plays in the middle, plays right back. I was quietly impressed by him.
Would you take Goretzka?
You know, I liked younger Goretzka, but I think he's washed now, isn't he? But I know what you mean. An experienced pro that can fill a few gaps. Less experienced, but more in the James Milner mould of can do you a job anywhere and is a really well-respected professional by all accounts. I was quite excited about the Archie Gray links when Tottenham looked like they might go down. I'm
excited about them, yeah. But that doesn't solve the problem. Now, I think in the middle of the park, we miss experience. And I know we've got some good players in there, but even World Cup winner Alexis McAllister, they've all fucking crumbled. Even Szoboszlai, who's had a good season by other standards, they've mentally crumbled this year. Szoboszlai has had his moments where he's reacted badly to certain things. Gravenberch has basically gone into hiding.
Yeah.
That's where you need a proper, experienced professional who can come in, not start for us every week, but is capable of just settling things down.
Would you?
Here's a question for you. Would you, given what Jordan Henderson's done this year at Brentford, would you have had him in the squad at the start of the season? In like knowing what we now know, that he actually could, he's had a good season, hasn't he?
What if we're looking back and say, if you rewind, would he have helped based on the form of his season? Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
I wouldn't have taken him last summer. I wouldn't have taken him last summer.
No.
At that point in time.
Not at that point in time, no. But based on what he's actually done this year, I actually think it would have been a perfect signing for us to just steer us through this difficult time.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's definitely work to do in the midfield, isn't there? And
a lot.
Obviously their model is to go for a younger player that the data suggests is a value buy, etc. Two names that I don't see mentioned often, because there's a lot of chat about the likes of Sangare at Lons and Adam Wharton and these younger players. Both look great. We all know Adam Wharton's qualities. Great player, no doubt. Do you think that? What do you think they'll do? Because I've got a direct question for you. I think I know the answer to it, but
I think we have to get a defensive midfielder, a proper defensive midfielder in. Whether or not that's a destroyer, I'm not sure about. And what I mean by that is like a Mascherano or an Alonso. I don't know what type of defensive midfielder we'll end up getting. I'm thinking it's probably more of the Alonso type, given that we wanted Zubimendi. But we just have to. We're so easy to play through, and it can't be Gravenberch.
That's my reservation with Wharton. Because I think if you do Wharton, you've got to do one more.
Yeah, I'm not that keen on Wharton.
I'm not either, which is not a popular opinion on Twitter, particularly after there's clips of chipped through balls in 30 minutes against City last night. Love that side of his game, but whilst I do think we miss someone that zips the ball through the lines quickly, and I think Wirtz in particular misses that player, as does Isak, I think you're still left with holes if he's the only one you do.
Yeah, and it costs a fortune.
Yeah, and I don't know if these Sangare links are just hopeful Twitter fans, or whether there's legs to them or not. He looks more like a sort of all-action midfielder, smashing into tackles, running through the lines. And I do like that style of player, and I think we need that style of player. But I'm going to ask you the question that I know the answer to. What about the French boys at Real Madrid?
No. I'm not keen on either of them. Camavinga and Tchouaméni, you mean, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, why do you like them so much? Yeah, the Camavinga is interesting because he can play left back and left wing.
Yeah,
the versatility. Yeah,
he's injured.
Tchouaméni, I just don't like. There's something about him that I'm not sure what he's actually really good at.
You're Team Valverde, then, are you?
Yeah. Not after he got banged out, no.
Yeah. Of all the failed transfers, that Caicedo's the one that hurt me most, but Tchouaméni's a close second. And I think I've always just held a candle for him since then. I do accept.
But okay, so here's a question for you though. Both of those players have obviously gone on to have good careers, and they were having good careers before. So would you say great careers?
Yeah,
I would argue that Caicedo's not.
Sorry, I thought you meant Tchouaméni and Camavinga.
No. I meant Caicedo and Tchouaméni. So Tchouaméni's won loads of stuff, sure, but I don't think he's a top 10 midfielder in the world, personally.
Really?
Yeah. I'd have him name 10 above him. I think he's in that second lot of like 10 to 20, personally.
Interesting. I mean, I tend to base the world-class thing on whether they'd improve every squad, every team. I don't think there is any club side that wouldn't start Caicedo if they had him in their squad. Which is a different argument to the top 10.
But do you think Caicedo's actually done well at Chelsea? Because they're a fucking shambles, and
They're a
he hasn't had
shambles,
a
yeah.
particularly good season.
No,
He's shown glimpses.
yeah.
I don't think. I honestly think for the money that they've spent for him at the time, I agree. I would have loved to have got him,
Mm.
but I don't think he's actually that good.
Do you reckon?
Personally.
I mean, we were sat together at Stamford Bridge when he
Yeah.
tore us to shreds at the end of last season.
Well, he's capable of brilliance, 100%.
Yeah,
It's
I
the
love him.
consistency I'm not sure about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch him every week, but I'd certainly take him. But I do know what you mean. He was supposed to take them to the next level, and they certainly haven't got to the next level. But they're a mess, as are we.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like us not to get that type of profile, I have to say. Just because, unless the market conditions, like particularly around Chum, obviously Caicedo's not going anywhere, but Tchouaméni, you don't know what's going to happen with this Valverde stuff. But if he becomes available, sure, why not? But I wouldn't be breaking the bank to go and get him, personally.
The reason I ask that is because they both tick your experienced professionals box.
Yeah.
And they both also, as we know, have been long-standing honorary members of Michael Edwards' list. And I can see a world where they're both available. Or, well, one or the other is available. Tchouaméni or Camavinga.
Yeah.
It wouldn't
They'll
surprise
be really
me.
expensive, though, I reckon.
Do you reckon?
And wages will be astronomical. Well, I don't know what Tchouaméni's wages are now, but I'm assuming they're going to be pretty substantial.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not necessarily advocating it. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it because I don't know. The public opinion of them's not high, and obviously,
so one of the reasons just is exactly that.
Yeah.
I think anyone involved in that Madrid setup, and he's been there a while, culturally isn't going to be the right fit for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
and
as
especially
you know,
now all this stuff has come out about him and Valverde, like that isn't what we're about at all.
Yeah, no, I can see that argument. The other red flag for me is as you know, my brother lived in Madrid. He's got loads of Madrid supporting mates. They don't like him as a player.
Really?
Which is it's a bit of a red flag. I don't know. I mean, I always like him when I watch him, but yeah.
I'd rather get some. I don't want him, but I'm going to say it. Belabor, and I know he's probably going to go to United or something like that. But personally, if we're going to go for that type of signing, I would rather get Belabor.
Does it not concern you that he doesn't start every week for Brighton?
Yeah, it does concern me.
Yeah.
How old is he? 19, 20?
He's young Belabor, yeah. And again, another player I really like. I was looking forward to watching him at Anfield, and he didn't start.
Tonali would be the other one.
Yeah, again, market opportunity. Tonali, as we said last
player.
time, would take Guimaraes as well.
Yeah. Either of those two. I think that the DM market is pretty weak, to be fair, at the moment.
I feel like the worldwide transfer market is.
Yeah. Trying to think who the other options even are that are like realistic. Like
well, I mean,
the ages of your Rodris and stuff like that, they're all getting old. That era of player, Kimmich and co.
I mean, Elliot Anderson's going to move this summer, and I think he's a fantastic midfield player, and he would improve our midfield without doubt.
Not a defensive midfielder.
No, but you know what I mean. He's the classic 4-4-2 central midfielder.
Yeah.
In the 90s, he would have played centre mid, box to box. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's going to go for crazy money. Yeah, like if he was available for 40-50 million, I'd do it tomorrow. But yeah,
all right. We've got a lot to cover still because there's tons of work to do. So wingers, I think we need at least 2.
Yeah,
possibly 3. And this is where I think the Bowen option becomes quite appealing if West Ham go down. If Tottenham go down, I'd also be looking at Kudus.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, sorry, mate, the one midfielder that I didn't mention that I think we absolutely have to do, although there will be interest in him, is Fernandez at West Ham.
Well, yeah, you like him, don't you?
Love him.
I like him as well, to be fair.
Apart from the fact that he missed that fucking 1-on-1 against Arsenal.
Yeah, that was gutting.
Yeah.
Absolutely gutting.
Yeah, but
how old is he? He's quite young, isn't he?
he's 21 as well, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, I've liked him since Southampton played against us at Anfield. He scored. Was a little bit surprised that he went to West Ham, but he's 21. He's a great pickup in the summer for someone. I mean, to be honest, the potential quality being relegated to the Premier League this year is really high. Like, I'm not saying we go back for Andre Trindade, but I do like João Gomez at Wolves. And if we're looking at numbers, relatively affordable contract prices, I'd imagine, then the likes of Fernandes, João Gomez, they'll surely be discussed. Fernandes, I'd do it definitely.
Yeah, same, definitely. I would swap him for McAllister in a heartbeat.
Yeah, he's outperformed him this season without doubt. But in fact, that jogged my memory. I forgot about Fernandes during the midfield discussion, but I saw the name Crescencio Somerville mentioned the other day. Now, I'm not saying you get him in as someone to start, but again, if you can pick him up for a low price.
So that's the kind of creative signing that I think we need to do. Premier League experience, very, very versatile. He's the right profile of player that we need, like as in he's quick, he can dribble. We're missing that type of player, aren't we? So I agree that there's no way I'd have him starting in our first 11.
No way. But if you ask me,
would you rather 30, 40 appearances at the season, I reckon, for us.
Would you give him those 10 minutes here and there that Chiesa gets? I'd rather bring Somerville off the bench than Chiesa.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, same. Now, obviously, I'm not advocating for us to bring him in and start him regularly, but if he's going to save legs in the League Cup, save legs in the FA Cup, come on for 5-10 minutes, I'm okay with a player like that. It's underwhelming, and fans would be underwhelmed, no doubt. But I think you've got a couple of
those.
But
we need squad strength. That's part of the problem we've got now.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. I think they've got an issue on their hands because the morale is so low. I don't think anyone would disagree that we need to do those squad-filling signings. But the challenge for them is if Slot's still around, we do someone like Crescencio Somerville. It's going to, like, the optics around that are pretty poor, I think. I think they need to go big on someone, be it Alonso or a managerial change, and then get your Barcola in first. Or not necessarily him, but, you know, the player that's going to replace Salah's goals. Because not only do we need wide players, we need wide players that contribute with goals as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Like the Archie Grays of the world, I think fans would like that, but it's not going to be enough.
No.
I almost think it sounds ridiculous to say this, given the outlay in the summer prior, but I almost think we need to do another Isak type signing. Because the problem you've got with Isak is that Ekitike being out puts a lot of pressure on him being fit, and he's never been a player who's going to play over 30 games in a season.
Mate, we're one injury away from the likes of Will Wright or Jayden Danns having to start Premier League games.
So I think we have to go out and get a top striker, regardless of what we do with the Salah replacement. You need both.
Do you not envisage that being someone like a Barcola that contributes goals, that operates from wide but rotates in the way that PSG do?
Yeah, possibly, but I still think you'd need two. It doesn't matter if it's a 9 or not. I think you need two if you're going to do that.
Yeah. Mateus Mane?
I'd take him. Yeah, I'd take him. Well, we haven't mentioned some of the other boys that are going down. So I know you like Van de Ven.
I like him more than
Archie
most.
Gray. Just mentioned. I think we'd both be quite keen on that. Tottenham have got obviously quite a João Palhinha. Are you still on him? You used to like him, didn't you?
Back in the day, yeah. I think I'd have had him pre-Bayern. But he's not been great for Tottenham, I don't think. No. But yeah, the lads you'd pick up from Tottenham, I don't think Tottenham are going to go down. But
Pedro Porro? Possible right back option.
Yeah, you'd have him as an option. I mean, Kudus is the one, really, that makes sense. And I kind of wish we'd done that previously, to be honest. But
yeah.
Yeah,
so
much to do, mate.
Barcola aside, who is your top pick?
I mean, Yan Diamande's name doesn't go away. Again, I think I've watched him once.
I think that's one of our most likely options, but that makes me nervous because I know he's a talent, but you're asking a 19-year-old to come in to a league that he's never played in before in a much higher level and replace Mo Salah. And his numbers aren't like that good.
No, it's more his style of play, because we've missed pace greatly, and you watch him play, and it's the first thing you notice.
Yeah, he's rapid.
Yeah.
But you need it on both wings. Like this, and this is the point. We've got so much to do. Him in isolation isn't enough. It needs to be him and another one.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. I mean, Gordon's another name that makes sense, but whilst obviously the local connection would excite people for different reasons, I do think Gordon's a dynamic player. He plays on either wing. He himself has said that he sees his position as a number 9. I think in terms of squad gaps, he makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against him, but I think I'm not his biggest fan, to be honest. I think we can do better. It's more just how much it'd cost. And
do you think
had a pretty poor season, hasn't he?
He's not kicked on, especially pre-World Cup. I think if you were going to be, if you rewind to last summer, if I said to you back then that we'll be having the Gordon discussions again this summer, you'd have imagined he'd have scored more. I think he was better the season before. Do you think the Elise thing's been put to bed?
Yeah, there's no way we're getting him. I just don't believe it. Any rumour that I've ever read, my first thought is, why the fuck would he come to us this season? He's too good for us at the moment, which is ridiculous to say, but why? Like, we're too unstable. What can we offer him that Bayern can't?
Yeah, and again, so much of that discussion does depend on who the manager's going to be.
Yeah, of course. I'm talking like right now.
Yeah,
Arne Slot's not attractive. Our league position is not particularly attractive. Everything going on in terms of like Salah leaving and stuff like that, albeit in that position he'd be taking his place, but I just don't think it's an attractive thing. You're going into uncertainty. So he's got a real sweet gig at Bayern. He's doing very, very well there. Why would he leave?
Yeah. Well, back to that point about professionals backing themselves. I'd imagine there are a lot of pros out there that see the fact that Salah's leaving, broken so many records, so many goals, won everything. There'll be a lot of pros that fancy themselves to step into those shoes and do Salah proud, or at least, live up to the reputation of being his successor.
Yeah.
Do you think Allister...
Bayern are better than us at the moment?
Yeah, this stuff's transient though, isn't it? Like the season before, you wouldn't have said that.
No, true. Yeah, I know what you mean, but I don't think. I think he's out of our reach, to be honest.
Yeah,
if we ended up getting him, I'd be astonished.
Same. But I do think I agree with Gerard's comments that I think for various different reasons that we've touched on, I do think we need a superstar or a superstar waiting to happen. I don't think fans will be satisfied if we were to, let's say, go down the route of a Bowen and a Gordon. I mean, even saying it aloud,
I completely agree. Yeah, it sounds ridiculous.
I think one of them needs to be blockbuster, a Champions League player.
So there's a name that we haven't mentioned that I want.
Endrick.
No, I don't think he's not a blockbuster.
I think he'd excite people.
Yeah, apparently. So he's gone on loan in the French league.
Lyon.
Yeah,
links up with Tyler Morton.
Yeah, he's doing well. I've seen some good rave reviews about him. But no, so the player that I think I would love to see, he's very versatile. He can play in any of those front three positions. He's not pacey, which is a bit annoying.
I know who you're going to say.
Who?
You're going to say Julian Alvarez, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. He's my realistic dream signing, and I say realistic because we're better than Ekitike. And I think he, age profile fits the bill. I think he's been there a while now. He's got Premier League experience. I think he would be a perfect signing for us.
Yeah, agreed. I think there'll be a long queue though. I think Arsenal. I think he'll go Arsenal. But yes, I would also take Alvarez.
He doesn't solve our pace out wide problem, so I still think you'd need to get probably 2 wingers.
Yeah.
But Jesus, if we could go in with Gakpo as your 5th option Alvarez capable of playing anywhere, Isak as your 9, and then 2 wingers, suddenly you've got like a real dynamic, dangerous front 5. And
But
at
I
the
think
moment, our front, like, look at what our front 5 could be.
yeah, we
It's
won the
pretty
league on
bleak.
the strength of the depth. And admittedly, Jota's, Diaz's, Nunez didn't contribute as much as Salah. But I think we need 5, with Rio being the 6th. And
Yeah, I agree.
Ekitike, and arguably maybe Ekitike not even in the equation for the discussions.
I don't think you can include him in the equation because
No.
you don't know how long he's out for and what condition he'll come back in. It could
And
take him 2 years to get back to full fitness.
Agreed, mate. Agreed. I think I'm looking at Ekitike as a bonus. But I wouldn't include Wirtz in that 5. So you go with
Yeah, same.
Isak 1. Let's call Rio the 6th. Gakpo the 5th. Do you really see a world in which we sign 3 more?
No, I don't. But I think we have to.
Yeah.
But that's where we might get creative, like a Bowen or something like that.
Mm.
So we're definitely not going to sign 3, Diamandis because they'll cost too much. But I do think we could do 3 if one and maybe 2 of them are sort of 30-40 million pound players.
Yeah.
But I agree, one of them needs to be a superstar. I do agree with that.
Yeah. And by superstar, do you mean for the fan excitement or for the numbers that they're going to generate?
I think it's got to be a bit of both.
Yeah, because I really like Bradley Barcola. I'm not naive to the fact that I also see a world in which he doesn't work.
Yeah.
He's just a bums off seats player, and he goes out men and he runs past men and he's rapid, and I think we've missed that this season. Do I think he'd be scoring Salah numbers? Absolutely no
Definitely
chance.
Not.
No.
I mean, I don't know how set in the other PSG attackers are. Dembele's out of our age profile and very rarely available. He's so injury prone, so I rule him out. But Desiree Doué, phenomenal footballer, 19 or 20 or something like that. Like, don't know how much he'd cost. Obviously, Kvaratskhelia, which would be another dream signing, and I'm pretty sure he's probably out of our league. But fuck, that would be nice.
Another one that's on the Edwards list. We should have signed him from Napoli, really, shouldn't we? I mean,
yeah, that was criminal.
He's genuinely one of the best players I've seen live. Yeah, he'd be a dream signing. But again, as fun as he is to watch, major big game player. We were looking at his numbers the other day, weren't we?
Yeah, they're fucking awful.
Yeah,
it's really, and that is the challenge with Salah, isn't it? He is, from a numbers point of view, irreplaceable, and that is partly why we've struggled this season. There aren't any other players that put up those numbers at that level of consistency at the moment, anyway. So you need someone who's capable of kicking on to another level.
Yeah, that is the big pro for me on Diamande. Like, he's had, even by professional footballer standards, he's had a meteoric rise. Like, he was playing at some academy in Florida 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then he went to Leganes, and then Leipzig have signed him, and he's, come to everyone's attention. Other than maybe Alvarez, I don't know if there's anyone immediately obvious that, comes in and gets Salah's numbers, aside from someone who comes in and basically does what Salah did for us 9 years ago, and go way beyond everyone's expectation because they're just on that trajectory.
Rodrigo,
yeah, I mean,
would you still be sniffing around him?
I really wanted him last summer, but I really wanted him last summer to complement what we had.
Yeah.
Because at the time, we'd just signed Ekitike. Isak was being discussed. Would I want him to be our main man? I'm not sure. He doesn't do it. Your argument last summer, was that he doesn't score enough. I like him. And again, he's a serial winner. He's a big game player. But is he a guy to take you over line? Yeah.
It's the culture thing. I think we're at a real crossroads here, where if we sign the wrong profile and personality of player, we move away from that sort of Henderson Milner era of, and the Van Dijk era. I'm really nervous that we get it wrong and end up in a Man United style spiral of toxicity.
Yeah. No, I
And
see that
I
argument.
do think we've got some players in the squad who are contributing to that already.
Mm. Go on, then name.
I don't want to chuck his name in the mix, but that is one thing I'm a little bit nervous about with Soboslai.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
He's as precious about his hair as he is about his game.
Yeah, he came under some deserved stick for posting
He
his,
did.
like, was it his watch or, some
Yeah.
fashion pics after we'd lost. And they're young lads, aren't they? I think it's easy to forget that they're young lads, but they were short-sighted of him.
I'd chuck Ekitike in the mix as well. I know he's funny and he's got some great stuff on the socials, but he needs to buckle down and focus on his game more than his fashion.
Yeah, he's got some growing up to do, doesn't he? The main
Yeah.
point of that was holding his shirt up when he got the second booking against Southampton.
Yeah.
But
You could see how someone like Ekitike is. Let's say we sign a Rodrigo and he's a bad influence. Someone like Ekitike, I think, could be led astray.
I think I see your point. So I'm going to take you back to, I can't remember how many episodes ago it was, but obviously the Salah stuff when it came out. Do you remember we debated at the time whether you would immediately sell him that January for Semenyo?
Absolutely. I can't remember exactly what we said, but I'm pretty sure I said I
Yeah,
would.
I think we both agreed that we would. Obviously, we had
Yeah.
no idea that the club were going to just let him go for free this summer.
Yeah. I mean, that's backfired monumentally, hasn't it?
Yeah, but obviously it's not going to happen. But would you view someone like Semenyo as an adequate replacement now?
Yeah. I mean, he's slotted into that City team like no bother at all. Contributing goals, versatile across the front three, quick, pacey. There's a lot to like about Semenyo, I think.
Mate, same. Absolutely agree as a person as well as a player. But for me, he's a bit more supporting act than main man, and I think we need a main man.
Yeah, I wouldn't have only done Semenyo, but
Yeah.
I think the market opportunity at that time was a no-brainer. I still don't understand what the fuck we were thinking in January, to be honest with you. Not signing anyone and passing up on those opportunities.
Unless they knew Slot was off. But
Yeah,
backed
well,
him.
all
But
will
backed
be
him.
revealed, I guess, in a couple of weeks. But
Yeah. And I mean, if at the time they had agreed, because let's be honest, November was when we were landsliding, and the calls for Slot to be sacked were as early as November. Bear in mind we'd won the league the year before, and I was probably amongst them, especially after the bloody PSV game. Sorry, definitely after the PSG game, but after the PSV game, 4-1 at home in the Champions League, madness. If the ownership and leadership, whatever you want to call them, Hughes, Edwards and co, if they had sort of internally agreed that Slot's gone in the summer, but we ride him out, backing him to get into the Champions League because we still think he's a good manager. So we're not going to reinforce in January and spend any more money. We're not going to pay an early severance fee and get a new manager midway through a season. If that was their plan, then they played a blinder. To an extent.
well, we'll see, won't we? Time will tell.
Maybe I'm being hopeful, but as I said at the start of the episode, I think the writing's been on the wall for Slot, and I think it probably has for the those who make the calls as well.
Well, we've got 2 weeks left of the season, 2 games to go. Villa tomorrow, Brentford final game of the season. I think we'll come fourth. So first and fourth in your first 2 years, on paper, sounds pretty good, doesn't it? It's the
It does.
performances, though, isn't it?
It's alienating an entire fan base that isn't
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
But as you say, as you often reference, I like Arne Slot as a man. He's coming out with some strange comments lately, but I do respect him as a human being, and will wish him well. But I'm looking forward to wishing him well. Put it that way.
Right, let's do a quick prediction. And also, just there's been a lot of speculation on as we've spoken. So, anyone on the socials, do let us know your thoughts on who we might get, who you want to leave, and so on. But Tom, what's your prediction for Villa tomorrow and Brentford on the 24th?
I can see a world where we get 0 points. I can see a world where we get 6.
I think they're quite nice games to play, to be fair, because
Yeah,
Villa,
Villa
obviously,
particularly.
the Europa
Mm.
hopefully will be a distraction for them. And Brentford at home, final day of the season, they've got assumingly nothing really to play for now. I suppose they've got Europa spots to play for, but yeah, I like that. And Henderson coming back, Salah's send off, that would be quite nice.
Yeah, gonna have to miss it. I'm at Colborne's wedding in Italy, so miss the last of Mo
Price you have to
Salah.
pay.
I know, mate. I know.
That is
For
a
the
real
palette.
shame.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Yes, see your point. I'm going to go with 2 draws.
That would be very fitting for this season.
Yeah.
I think we'll win one of them, and I think it will be Brentford, and I think we'll probably draw tomorrow.
Is that how? Oh, this is a real sour and negative note to end it on. How drastically wrong would it have to go for us to not get in the Champions League? Bournemouth are in 6th on 55 points.
I think we've got a 4-point gap, haven't we?
Yeah. So if we lose both games,
but Bournemouth
they
are
win
playing
both
City
games.
in one of them.
Correct. Yeah, they'd have to win both games, wouldn't they? And we've got a 6-point deficit.
But it's even then, I feel like it's almost mathematically impossible.
No, because Brighton could win both games. If Brighton win both games and we lose both games, they'd do us on goal difference. Unless they win both. No, yes. Yeah. If we lose both games and Brighton win both.
Yeah.
And of course, if Bournemouth win both games, but are they going to be City? Who knows?
I don't think either of those teams will win both games, to be fair. We will limp into the Champions League having been the least worst team.
Yeah.
Essentially, which is just, says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a perfect summary.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will do our end of season review, obviously, at the end of the season, but we'll try and squeeze another episode in before then. Obviously, if things happen, like signings or managerial incomings or outgoings, then we'll jump on. But otherwise, thanks for listening, and do share your thoughts with us. It's the Red Debate.